welcome to you all to this 107th celebration of Maxine's birthday on December 23rd, 2024. Welcome to you all. I'm the Executive Director of the Maxine Green Institute, and this is our first birthday video. Heidi Upton. Oh, be unmuted, sorry. There you go.
I didn't think I was coming up so soon, but I'm Heidi Upton.
Be prepared.
And I'm the president of the Maxine Green Institute, and so happy to see faces here and people from around the world. Maxine had such a great influence on me when I first started as a teaching artist at Lincoln Center Institute, and now as a professor at St. John's University. I use her ideas, and my students know her name, and I'm proud to continue and to learn more all the time about her and her thinking as I teach others about it. So anyway, welcome to everybody. Go ahead, Holly, call on someone else.
Okay, and Allison, are you able to talk on your bus? Oops, you have to unmute.
So I'm Allison Lehner-Quorum, and I'm the education librarian at Lynn College, and I'm also a member of the Maxine Green Institute board. I work on the library committee, so I'm thrilled to hear about all of these translations and new publications that are coming up. I'm very happy to be with you. And I'm on a bus heading north in Manhattan.
That's amazing.
And, Janet, can you introduce yourself?
Yeah, Janet Miller, teaches College, Columbia University, retired now, but almost finished with my Routledge book on Maxine Green and education, and that will be published in 2 different series at the same time. One more with a curriculum emphasis, which will be supported by the editor of that series, Bill Pineire, and then the other is an invitational series with Routledge that is directed toward key thinkers in education. So this will be the volume on Maxine, and it should be, I think, in the early new year of 2025. So
wow.
Yeah, I'm happy about that and excited, and I miss her every day. Yeah.
Thank you, Janet. And Singho, can you introduce yourself?
Can I introduce you later? I'm almost being from my
Gotcha.
office, and I can show my face here.
Great. Let's go to Vanessa. Hi, Vanessa. Good to see your face. Can you introduce yourself?
Hi, I'm Vanessa. I'm from Spain. I get to know Maxine Green as a process of my formation as a teacher, and I get to know the Maxine Institute through internet. And I just finished the first seminar about Maxine Green philosophy, who was organized by the IMASE, by Terecmi Quintanilla and Pablo.
And you're doing your dissertation, I understand.
Yeah, I'm doing my PhD in Maxine Green philosophy. I'm starting my second years, and it lasts 3 years more. And it's a very exciting and interesting experience in order to get to know in Spain the Maxine Green philosophy activity.
Thank you. And maybe we can go to Tere next, since you were mentioned. Hi, Tere.
Hi, everybody. I'm Tere from Mexico, IMASE, Mexican Institute for Arts in Education, and we'll be doing a seminar about Maxine Green, thinking in thought in Spanish. We just finished it, and we have been doing aesthetic education for 23 years in Mexico. So we'll keep going. And Maxine, I love you. I miss you.
And let's go to Pablo, because that's the other part of this organization. Pablo.
Yeah, I started as a teaching artist with Tere. She started the institute, and I became a teaching artist there. So I worked with Tere in many different workshops, teaching aesthetic education. And last year we did the seminar just about Maxine Green and her thought, and that's all.
Great. And Carmel.
Hello, everybody. Hi, Holly. Hello, everybody. My name is Carmel Hinchin, and I'm part of the Maxine Green Ireland team, and the other two members. And I'm not sure if Jane can be here. She might be able to, but she sends her love, and so does Helen. So I'm part of the team, and was based and now retired in the University of Limerick. Jane is head of poetry education in Poetry Ireland, and Helen was looking after programs in the Museum of Modern Art. So we're delighted. Maxine has always been influential, going back years and years. I remember reading your work as well, Janet, and William Pienaar. And so it's been very strong in me, but it's been real now since I met Holly and Amanda and Heidi and the team, and I'm loving being part of this. So that's me, and hello to everybody.
Great. And since you were invoked, Amanda.
Thank you. Hi, I'm Amanda Gulla, and I'm a member of the board of the Maxine Green Institute and the International Coalition, and I'm Professor Emeritus of English Education at Lehman College, along with Alison Lena-Quam. And I've just been so richly influenced by Maxine's work and just her generosity of spirit. I've taught aesthetic education for about 20 years now, originally under Holly's tutelage, and published a bunch of articles on aesthetic education and inquiry-based learning, and just looking forward to seeing where this work takes us collectively.
Yeah, thank you. Shinko, hi. Can you introduce yourself?
My name is Shinko Kondo from Japan, and I just met Holly in May this year, right? Lincoln Center.
At Lincoln Center, yeah.
Yeah. We are translating Maxine Green's Releasing an Imagination into Japanese right now, and we just finished the proofreading. The translation book is coming up next March 2025. We're so excited. So the team is with Mr. Ueno and Mr. Kirita and Mrs. Sonobe. So we're four are translating, and then every time we meet and then do the meeting, we talk about how wonderful, how important this book is. So that the book is getting thick. Now it's almost 450 pages now. So yeah, so I'm glad to be here today. It's midnight,
So Shinko, the four of you are all part of a music education, higher education. Can you tell us a little bit about that organization you work with? You're all different music backgrounds, different music educators.
Yeah, I am music educator, but Mr. Ueno is a philosopher, and he translated many Dewey's books. And Kirita is also artist and also philosopher, and Mrs. Sonobe is doing improvisational theatric activities right now. So all different areas people join and then translate this book. Almost every week we meet and discuss about what is this sentence means. It's very deep, as you know. And then there are so many books and movies and music and picture art, all area, covered all areas. So it's not easy to translate to Japanese.
Well, maybe we can talk to Singho. Could you share your experience translating into Korean?
Sure, I'm gonna share two links, that Korean versions of Variations on the Blue Guitar and Releasing the Imagination. Well, the first of Korean version of Variations, it was translated in 2011. So Maxine actually put down some preface of the Korean version of, Variations on the Blue Guitar. So that time, I really struggled like Shingo did that. Well, so I made a joke to Maxine. Maxine, if you could translate your work in English and then I can translate in Korean because it was not literally English. It was Maxine Green's language. So it was successfully, translated. It's still widely circulated among Korean audiences. And the second one, Releasing the Imagination, the publisher is a different one. And because of the copyright, the publisher invented their own cover, not the Releasing the Imagination version of, I don't know, orange and blue that Shinko mentioned. So my name is Seung Ho Moon. I'm a faculty member at Loyola University Chicago, and Jenna Miller, she was my dissertation chair, and she lives in my heart. Jenna, you said that you miss Maxine all the time. I miss you every day as well. So I'm so glad to be here with all the old friends and new friends, and thank you so much.
That's great. And Susan, thank you, Singho. Hi, Susan.
Hi, I'm Susan Thomason. I'm a Maxine Green board member. I'm one of the actually there are three of us on the board who are still connected to Lincoln Center, and so we all know each other from Lincoln Center. I've told many of you, but my connection to Maxine goes back a long time, and I got her up on her feet and down on her back and rolling around on the ground because she walked the walk and talked the talk. We were up to no good in a lot of her summer sessions, and we collaborated on a lot of things, including the yellow wallpaper, including a lot of poetry, poets that she loved, like Mary Oliver, Elizabeth Bishop, etc. And I was thinking about yesterday, I wanted to put something in the Padlet, which I did, and I was inspired by everyone's writing, and I thought, gosh, I teach aesthetics at Hunter in the graduate school, and Maxine's writing is so rich. I thought I could basically just go up and open any of the books, Blue Guitar, Releasing the Imagination, and find a quote anywhere instead of trying to search through all my quotes for the favorite one. But she, like someone already said, I think of her, Janet, every day. She changed me. Yesterday I was down in the basement cleaning up papers, and I ran across open journals from my Hunter class that had beautiful quotes where I was trying to ask my students to respond to those quotes, put them on the floor, and they walk around and can respond. Just another way of having a discussion. But anyway, of course, the papers on the floor randomly by the washing machine were Maxine quotes. So I'm happy that I knew her as this great thinker and philosopher and artist, which she considered herself to be. She was modest about it, but she considered herself to be. And I'm also glad that I know her as a person, and her, her eccentricities, her the parts of her that were not so sure of themselves in other ways. So I feel like I know her in a round way. And and as I wrote in the Padlet, she so inspired me in the end of her life when she was unable to get out of her wheelchair, by every day trying to get up and walk every day till the last days, right, Holly? I mean, it's, was really, it was really moving to see that. So I am what I am not yet, again, walking the walk. now I'm so happy that within the last year or so, we have new partners. I have the pleasure of working with Tere and Pablo and Carmel, Jane, and Helen in Ireland. So we're so excited about this going other places, and the passion and the little bit different perspective that you are bringing from your own cultures, from your countries, from your point of view, from your window onto Maxine's work is so valuable to us. It helps us to see her more in a more rounded 360-degree complex ways, because she knew that was one of her favorite ideas in the capacities that we had at Lincoln Center, the idea of tolerating or dealing with ambiguity. That was one of her favorite things. She knew that things were complicated and there's not one right answer, wrong answer. So anyway.
Absolutely. I think just to build on that, the essence of so much of what I convey to my students, they pick up on is that art is a complex text, and so are human beings, and human beings are more complicated than you can imagine. So that was Ruth, can you introduce yourself?
Yes. Hi, everybody. I'm Ruth Zeeland at Manhattan University, where I direct the graduate programs and work in undergrad, as well in education, general education, and special education. And I'm also treasurer of this wonderful institute. And Holly and I started the Imagination Conferences a long time ago. So it's really exciting that we're part of this, I don't know, wonderful expanding institute. And Maxine has inspired me so much. And I'm echoing what everybody is saying, and I excuse myself, I'm getting my hair done in honor of her birthday. So I'm in the salon right now. But one of the things that really sticks out to me is how she validated all of our perspectives, that there was no wrong answer. And I think that validation made it so wonderful for my students when they came and visited her in her apartment in her later years, when I was in her book club, at the salons that she had, and when she even came to our first conference, that just the idea that we could take any interpretation and she would run with it and accept that. Yeah.
Hey, thank you. Please, anybody, we have another half hour to go, so we would love to hear more of your thoughts to sort of start a conversation that we can continue offline if necessary. The Institute is trying very hard to be a conduit, a sort of a clearinghouse for other people to come and join and share what they want to pursue or know about her, or share her inspirations. It's sometimes lonely out there if you're the only one in the country knows about our work. So we want to be a place for you to share that, and also to be we want to be alert to what other people are thinking. Share what's going on in Korea with what's going on in Mexico and Ireland, so that we can grow as Maxine did. So I wonder if there's anybody who wants to jump in and add sort of maybe your reminiscence, or how else she has inspired your work.
Well, I imagine if Maxine were with me in her living room, she definitely would ask, "What the heck is happening in South Korea now?"
Oh yeah.
Yeah, then I would respond that, well, it's people's political consciousness that South Koreans they have a high sense of political imagination as well as civic engagement, so that they can impeach president multiple times. So the current president, he's so corrupted and so stupid, like our upcoming or past someone. So I hope that, well, the US people have more critical political consciousness to reimagine what might be different social realities with empathy, rather than setting up the absolute enemy for political interest. So I want to share quickly of how South Koreans are eager to have more equity in a society overall with political imagination.
Yes, the South Koreans give us courage, Sung-ho.
Yeah, I really hope so to the American people.
Yeah.
You should impede. Well, I'm part of it too, but how we can
Yeah.
make voice heard of our citizens for somewhat different realities of different societies.
Yeah, I think about the protesters in Hong Kong a few years ago that were doing such a valid job of such an imaginative way to resist, though they didn't succeed ultimately, but they were very inspiring.
I just wanted to point out that the link to the Padlet is in the chat, and Allison has asked, she had to leave the Zoom, but she asked here if everyone could put links to your work and organizations on the Padlet. So when you get a chance, it would be great to have a compilation of that there.
Great. Thank you, Allison, for that. Good thinking. We have a wonderful library. Thanks so much to Allison. If so that we want to have a place for dissertations as well as translations and publications that you've done elsewhere. So please do let us know. There's a wonderful library at Teachers College, for example, but it's hard to get into. So unless you're part of that, so we want to be a little bit more accessible to, and more translations, the better. That's just really important, I think, to have more Spanish translations, more Japanese translations. Just, yeah, it's coming, right, Tere?
Hopefully it will be coming. We want to make more translations now that we were at the seminar, that we got into several articles from different books and taking different topics of Maxine. And it's like we want to translate every letter of her work, knowing that it's not easy, that it's really complicated. But we are looking for the money in order to be able to do it, and hopefully we will soon have news in that regard, hopefully. And also we are going to be making about the seminar that we just did of Maxine, that we were like 8 months thinking about Maxine. People that was involved as taking the seminar, they were like 19 people from different parts of the world, but Vanessa from Spain, but there were 2 more from Spain, 1 other person from Colombia, and from different parts of Mexico. And we are right now working in creating some articles that we can create a book about our relation with this exploration about Maxine thought. And we were imagining the possibility of translating it into English, because it's going to be in Spanish. So that will soon, hopefully, we will have some news about the Spanish version, and then we'll figure it out how to share it with the world. And it's like every time I read a little bit more of Maxine or work, have some discussions with some others, it's like I always discover new things. So that idea that nothing is static, everything, it's moving, it's aesthetic, it's wonderful. And I've been, through this seminar, I've been able to understand a lot more deeper the aesthetic education that we are doing in Mexico. So it's that part of that philosophical anchor of aesthetic education. It's so important to build it together. And we are starting at the beginning of next year, we are going to be doing an aesthetic education. I don't know how you say it, but we're going to be working 150 hours with a group in presence, that we were doing more the methodology of aesthetic education, but we are going to be mixing a little bit more the Maxine's thoughts, because it helps you go deeper and deeper and deeper and getting this social commitment, not only in a way of teaching, but in the way of thinking how this is gonna influence the changes that we need in Mexico, and I think in all other places, about delivering imagination and changing political aspects of our world.
That's wonderful, exciting. The way you're taking it further and further. Your team there is really inspiring. You know, there's a number of her lectures that from Lincoln Center and elsewhere that we have on our YouTube that we're collecting. So even though it's in English, I hope you include her voice in your workshops, because there's something about hearing her speak her lectures, which is so charming and profound.
Yeah, thank you for that idea. And yes, we include it in the seminar, but we might think about including it in this other program.
Sort of the way we did at Lincoln Center. We always had her lecture, and then we had the workshops. You know, that was
exactly. Yeah.
You know, in that regard, Holly, and I was listening to everybody speak about the translations and how Maxine wrote and everything. And I remember when I first got to Lincoln Center Institute as a new teaching artist, and I would be at summer session and she would be speaking. It wasn't so easy at first.
No.
Like, what is this woman talking about? And I had a hilarious moment when I had, it wasn't this semester, it was I teach a lot of first year students, and I had them reading, I think it was just that excerpt from in Blue Guitar, the aesthetic space and experience thing on notes on aesthetic education, just that an excerpt from that chapter. And I had a student say, it could have been written so much simpler. You know, like she was like judging it. She was like the critic of it. And it would be, it's like, and then to think about how to translate it. And is there, you know, a way to approach Maxine's writing, which is so dense and so filled with references. She stands on the shoulders of so many others. And I don't know, to maybe write about that or somehow, you know, to think about how to help people approach, because now I don't get it. Like, what was I thinking back then that I couldn't understand what she was talking about?
I know what you mean.
Get indoctrinated, you know.
It took me about 2 years to figure out what she was talking about. But you know what helps, Heidi, and you gave me a nice thought, is reading my students' responses to her writings is very clarifying to me. So not only from what they understand, but what they're taking away from it, and that might be a basis for writing about, you know, how it's synthesized.
Yeah, and students, they're looking for answers. You know, they're looking, okay, how many philosophers does she mention? You know, and what that Schutz says this, you know, that, and they're not dwelling in the fabric of it, you know.
I guess I was saying, sorry, go ahead.
Actually, I've been talking to Pablo and some other people from IMASE. It's like, I would love to retranslate variations into Spanish, because we did it in 2004. And now we understand the things so in so different ways that even one word, for example, why, can be translated going forward, or just giving a justification of what are we doing. Only that small word makes a huge difference.
Maybe an annotated version, you know?
Yes, yes.
Maxine always used to tell stories about a lot of people, a lot of students questioning, why do you have to write in such a difficult way? And she would say, because you need to read more. That's why I do it. And, you know, I love that answer. I thought it was always really a wonderful one. You know, not to say that it isn't complicated, but read more and you'll understand more. It always stuck with me, yeah. I just want to say too, I happen to be in Brazil right now, and through my connections here in terms of teaching and workshopping with people, I happen to be in Rio de Janeiro right now. There's a tremendous interest in Maxine's work, which has really not made it to, as far as I can tell, any place in Brazil, but I'd love to keep talking with you all who have been able to work in countries other than your own in terms of how to bring people together around that who are interested in her work. And the other thing, being here, I'm quite aware of the politics of the whole thing in terms of the United States political situation now in terms of the president-elect again, and the fear that is visceral here around it opening up a door for Bolsonaro to come back in as president in Brazil. And so how to marshal the political fervor that would be what I would assume would be we would share in the United States around the second presidential term of Trump, which I can't even believe I have to say, but that's the way it is. So I've got all kinds of things swirling here. One, I want to be a part of how I can continue helping people with whom I work here, students and faculty, in terms of learning more and more about Maxine. I need somebody who's an expert in Portuguese, to help me with all of that. Anyway, I just wanted to say all of that, but
So
mostly
Janet,
to remind you. Yeah.
Janet, an avenue I don't know if you've explored, and I don't want to take up too much time here, but virtual exchange is a big deal for us at St. John's. And I have been through 3 iterations of partnering with one from UK, one from Germany, one from Norway, and using Maxine's writing and ideas and partnering with a course in anthropology or in community development where we find common ground, and other, like we did like common ground, like the community development one was I'm blanking on the name of the, well, I can't even, another thinker who was very much associated with Maxine. It'll hit me in a minute or two. Freyrig, yes, Freyrig, thank you. And, so we used, the students learned in both places, learned about Freire and Maxine and their common thinking and everything. So virtual exchange is kind of a powerful vehicle for spreading that.
Yeah. I have some interesting things to share around how a lot of Brazilians regard Freire. Perhaps not with the fervor that is more evident in what I'm familiar with, which would be U.S. education. So that's really fascinating to me, and I have to be honest, frankly surprising to me when I first learned of that. So that's all the complications, right, of working with one another across all kinds of
intercultural competencies.
Yes, very much. So I'd love to talk to you more about that.
Yeah.
So
I also want to highlight that how Maxine's work and her ideas are spreading out not only among teaching artists or educators, and I introduced my commitment with the Supreme Court of State of Illinois I'm using Maxine's idea of aesthetic education for teaching diversity issues among judges and probation officers and circuit clerks. So the idea is really well perceived by Chief Justice in state of Illinois, and she's spreading out this method of aesthetic education to other states. So I completed a workshop 2 weeks ago, and state of Missouri, they attended this workshop. Basically, 50 legal professionals got together at the Art Institute of Chicago, and we implemented Maxine's idea to look at the same things differently. So I want to highlight that Maxine's ideas on aesthetics and imagination is not only our ownership among educators and teaching artists, but other fields like legal professionals are super excited to learn it.
And especially because like many fields, they will think, oh, it's the arts, it's a frill, it's an extra, and to understand that this is such a more complex and intricately, I don't know, a web of thought. That it's not just light, L-I-T-E thinking.
Yeah. And I think
that's one of the participants mentioned that, well, it was a really aha moment for the judge, because well, this workshop made her think. So I thought that there is Maxine would be pleased to say that, well, these people, we don't know who they are, that, well, the aesthetic education try to make people think, not what to think, but how to think with the use of art.
And I think that that links to what we're doing kind of in making the connection with the Maxine Greene Institute in Ireland, that sense of deepening our understanding. I think for me and for many teachers and teacher educators, we'd have known of Maxine Greene. Maybe I would have understood and told my students about Maxine Greene, but it's that idea of how do we put the practice in a way that's kind of deep for curriculum understanding. So what we've done with the Maxine Greene Institute is we gathered up kind of teachers in Ireland and the Maxine Greene Institute. We came together an online seminar and we got a sense of how people do put aesthetic education into practice, as well as what the philosophy is. And so we're kind of deepening that by having another seminar probably in March, and then meeting with the Maxine Greene people who were very kindly coming to Ireland. So we're opening it out to teachers, teacher educators, artists. But my heart is in that sense of how do I as a teacher learn from this, and how can I help other teachers? And you know, I would love, for example, having retired, I'm trying to put something together now later on for working with secondary, like Amanda, I'm a secondary English teacher. How can I do something in the form of a book or an input that kind of be there for teachers in Ireland and for myself in relation to how the imagination is important, and both personal and social. So, and it's that learning together is huge, you know, and having the time to learning together, having the slow time, you know, rather than and in college I find with students, you know, how do you build it in a way everything is very immediate, and you know, getting ready for school placement or going into class and covering a course, but how do you make it kind of real and lived out in a way that's meaningful? So and that's why I find it really beneficial to connect and see how her philosophy can actually live out in a kind of a practice, or in a classroom, or in a university, or wherever.
I just want to jump off of what Karma was just saying, because I feel everything that everyone is saying so strongly, and how much enacting our pedagogy under Maxine's influence feels like it's always been an act of resistance. It's never been easy. As a K-12 teacher, it's always kind of like, well, close your door and have the standards on the blackboard, and you know, make sure that you're following all of the niceties that the administrators want to see. And as a teacher educator, it's about helping teachers and teacher candidates figure out how the inquiry and imagination really helps achieve the results that they supposedly want to see in terms of student outcomes. And it's not aligned with standardized testing or any of that. It's like we're always trying to fit this wonderfully amorphous and ever-changing shape into a square hole. And I also felt very strongly what Singho was saying about political resistance, and that the way in which we need to be open to the imagination is really antithetical to this kind of conformist thinking. I mean, just today, basically, Trump was making an announcement along the lines of the fact that, you know, transgender people don't exist. And that was just so chilling and horrifying. The idea that you can tell an entire population of people that you are not who you say you are. And I think Maxine helps show us the way to resist and to keep on.
Yeah. Amanda, Carmel, and Carmel, what you're saying too. I think you were talking about slow time. That but students are always they have to get the thing, they have to do the thing, and to use Maxine's word, to situate yourself in aesthetic space is so powerful and so important, and for judges too, I would imagine, to just be aware, to remind yourself that you have a body, that you are someplace, and this place has aesthetic qualities to it. That's it. I mean, once you get somebody to do that, and then what's that sound? That's the ground floor of everything else. I think that even like what you're talking about, the standards, and we have to teach, which I don't live in that world, but you got to get this done, you got to get that done. That nobody's going to go anywhere unless they start from where they are.
Heidi, I so agree with you. It's almost like we're teaching again that everybody has a voice, whether they're reading something or looking at something or in a classroom, and we want students to challenge us. And it seems like, especially since the election results, that many people feel that we've lost our voice. And not just in this country, I'm hearing from relatives and friends overseas that the political climate is such that they feel like they cease to be. And it's wonderful that we're expanding now, that people are regaining their voices and being inspired by Maxine.
Yeah, I think it's the voices, but it's also the ability to see what could be otherwise, as you would say. And there's that sense of
yes,
my students also so often think I didn't know that was possible. I didn't know that existed, or I was not allowed to even I didn't know that was a way of thinking, or all these kinds of revelations that philosophy often does to people. But also the senses awaken us to different ways, but it just doesn't seem to making meaning there not these clear other pathways to make meaning. There's only these rigid pathways, and that's just it sort of circumvents the entire possibility of human beings. So I agree with you, Ruth, and I'm hopeful, not that we're going to change the world, but that we can afford people around the world these kinds of connections, conversations. If we can possibly do that, that's something.
At the end of that video on social imagination, Maxine says, to not just to see, not just to feel, but to take someone's hand and act. And I think that that's really what we are all about here.
Well, we're 5 minutes to closing time, but this has been a really beautiful conversation, and curious to know, your input. We rarely get to see you all in one place. Is there an opportunity for me to ask what kinds of other conversations we have, kind of these online possibilities on the website, but to actually hear each other talk in this way and exchange ideas? Is this a kind of a forum that we could have more often? Is this helpful?
Yes. Definitely.
I've enjoyed it. I feel awake again,
Me too.
It's really an international community. It's really a family, a family of like-minded people. And I think that it feels really connecting, to do this. It feels, I think everyone feels less alone after a conversation like this, right?
Yeah, and I know I want to confess something, that after the meeting you did last year at the end of 23, remember, in that international meeting?
The conference? Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Tere and I, we both felt inspired by you, by talking about Maxine in this way, and that was the trigger for the seminar.
Yeah.
Wow.
Oh, great.
And I just it's lovely to talk like this. It's so lovely to kind of, it helps you to become aware and connected, as you say. I wonder, would it be interesting, the way people who have been working in aesthetic education, and people who like Janet and Heidi and Susan and Holly and everybody, I wonder, is it worth taking a topic sometimes and putting that out as a way to kind of say, if I have a question around, well, how can we work with technology now and Maxine's thinking, or how, for example, in the kind of present day politics, how can we go about working with that in the classroom, or, so just, I wonder, is there some way of putting a focus on a topic, or that's only just an idea, to put
Great
out
idea.
there to people to kind of put a focused discussion on something, and because I'm sure that the knowledge that people have there, that there's such deep knowledge, and it would be so lovely to hear it and to share it.
I think
That
that's
seems
a
like a
great
good
idea.
idea.
That's
We
a
were
great
just
idea.
talking in the board meeting about AI and aesthetic education.
And this whole issue of translation, of translating Maxine's language to another language, and what
that's a lovely idea, Susan, isn't it?
And I think the political implications of what would Maxine say now, at this point in our collective, our world, sort of based on world events. And I think continuing to connect her to the everyday, to the
present.
Because she, and feeling her presence, because she was not just an abstract, brilliant thinker, she was a real person. And as Heidi was saying, she was urging us to see our world in the everyday, to watch those newspapers blowing across the street, to just be attentive to everything. And it doesn't take a work of art, but it just takes looking and seeing and communicating that more, being more sensitive and more wide awake, so to speak.
So she actually, to your point, she actually referenced things in the news on almost all of her lectures. So there was very relevant to the moment. And yet, of course, that becomes, as you look back on it, more and more kind of, unfortunately, universal. But she was attuned to the everydayness outside her window, and also to the news and to Dancing with the Stars, of course.
I think that there are two lovely things there, the idea of the translation at different levels, the translation of kind of the meaning of her work in terms of her philosophy, maybe in terms of her practice, the translation in terms of connecting it to our everyday life and how it's meaningful now, and how she is meaningful now in a kind of real sense. And also the sense, it was when people mentioned that they remembered Maxine every day, and that they remembered when she was in her wheelchair, wanting every day to kind of make the step. Just something about knowing her, knowing the actual person and her everyday life for those who didn't know her, the things that she did that were impressive in terms of an everyday living. That was another thing that struck me.
Well, let's think about how we can put that together and start to imagine a seminar series or a salon series.
Another aspect was thinking about the younger generation, and this is for you, Vanessa. People like you, I can think of at least a dozen younger people in our community that are writing their PhDs and exploring Maxine from a completely different generational perspective. And I'm really curious to encourage that, and also to understand more about what you find so interesting, Vanessa, in her work. What drew you to it in your life, in your
for me, discovering Maxine Green was kind of connection, as her work and her thinking was written some years ago, but it's really lively nowadays, as we see how some movement of polarization, out of critical thinking, out of compromise, is raising, and bringing Maxine Green's work and effort to see feel the art in a critical way, in a way that make us understand that anything is end, but everything is in the making, is kind of a knowledge that I think is interesting and important right now, that young people understand that we have a lot of things to do, But the first step is to realize that we have something that to realize what we are, that we can do things with our capacity and our compromise. So that's the things that most attract me from Maxine Green, that the word compromise, how the compromise can, what compromise is in English, correct? Compromise.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. With the art, with the city, with our community, can provoke change.
Thank you, Vanessa. It's so great to hear a young person. I want to share, before I leave, I want to share one image of Maxine that I think you might appreciate. This was where is it now? Whoopsie. Hold on. Wait for it. This was a picture of the last year that Maxine was teaching at Teachers College. I don't know if you can see it. And she was 96 then, 95. So besides wanting to get up and walk every day, she got up and wanted to teach every day. So this was an inspiration for me. I remember that was her last year of teaching, and she still she just loved it. She was so so devoted to her students and to the idea of teaching. So okay, I thank you all so much. And appreciate it. We'll do this again soon.
Definitely.
And
Should we all raise
a
our
hand to
yes.
Maxine? Happy birthday, Maxine.
Happy birthday, Maxine.
Happy birthday. Happy birthday.
Happy birthday.
Thank you all. I have
Thank
it
you,
recorded, so
everybody.
this will be on YouTube soon. Bye-bye.
And happy holidays, everyone.
Thank you.
Happy holidays.
And happy Christmas.
Birthday,
Bye.
Maxine, wherever you are.